Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
Nathan Beats.
What's up, y'all? This your boy, Mr. I240. I'm back with another video today. Alright, I was gonna hit y'all with the Kofi Mania, but I got a little research a little bit real quick. But I decided to hit you with one of my episodes I've been wanting to do for a long time that's on my list. I got a question, dog. Do you trust him? Do you trust him? Do you trust him? If you know, you know. Today's episode is about one of the greatest psychology minds of all time. One of the greatest characters ever. He was cold on promo, cold in the ring. He made you think too in the promo, the psychology, you know what I'm saying? In the metaphors, if you understood it. And he didn't even need a title belt to make him relevant. The man that I'm talking about, Jake the Snake Roberts. The Snake Man. So if you're new to the page, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button, you know what I'm saying? But before we get started, I want to thank the man above, the Lord Jesus Christ. If it weren't for him, won't be no me, won't be no page, won't be no y'all, you know what I'm saying? So, I just want to hit y'all with something quick, you know what I'm saying? Cause I don't even feel like I had the Kofi fresh in mind ready, you know what I'm saying? But let's get into my boy career, his early career. Jake Roberts started his career in 1974 in the Louisiana area. He was a referee, and a year later, he made his debut, making his name in the Mid-South Wrestling, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and Georgia Championship Wrestling. Roberts had trouble developing his character, so in the late 1970s, he traveled to Canada to wrestle. While in Stampede Wrestling, he had a feud with another great legend I did an episode on. Go check it out, Junkyard Dog. JYD. It was in Georgia Championship Wrestling during 1983 that Roberts became part of the Paul Ellering stable, the Leisure Dude, and began a feud with Ron Garvin over the NWA National Television Championship that lasted until 1984. Jake Roberts entered World Class Championship Wrestling, joining over with gentlemen Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez in their feud against Devon Eriks, winning the television title and six-man tag titles with Adams and Hernandez. Roberts returned to Mid-South Wrestling in 1985, ending his run before February 1986 with a feud against Dick Slater after being told by management that he was not considered a top talent even though he was getting a big crowd reaction. Man, promoters be player hate because they want niggas steal their spot, you hear me? Then of course, the World Wrestling Federation era. Jake Roberts debuted in the WWF on March 8, 1986 in the Boston Garden, defeating Jose Luis Rivera. A month later, he made his pay-per-view debut, defeating George Wells at WrestleMania 2. During the match, Roberts made Wells foam from the mouth when he wrapped his snake Damien around Wells' head. However, contrary to popular beliefs, he has been using the Snake nickname before his WWF debut, including while in Georgia Championship Wrestling. But he had his first major feud with Ricky Dragon Steamboat. I'm glad they got this over here. I remember they wanted their man to do the DDT on the floor, but he was like, he didn't want to do it, but because he told them it was going to go wrong, and it went wrong. So, he had his first feud against Ricky Dragon Steamboat, beginning on national televised episode of Saturday Night Main Event in 1986, where Roberts executed the DDT on Steamboat on the exposed concrete floor in front of his wife Bonnie, and then proceeded to rest the snake around Damien on top of the prone Steamboat. While Vince McMahon and Booker George Scott was adamant about wanting the DDT to take place on the floor. Roberts initially refused until Steamboat told him that he would be able to adequately protect himself from injury. Unfortunately, Steamboat was unable to stop his head from hitting the concrete and was rendered unconscious, sustaining a concussion. After Steamboat recovered, Steamboat introduced a Komodo dragon as his pet to combat the psychological effects of Robert's snake. The feud continued with Steamboat winning most of the matches, losing one because he threw Roberts back in the ring before the 10 count, while not beating the count himself. Most notably, a snake pit match consistently a no DQ match at the big event, and the rematch was on October 1986 edition of Saturday Night Main Event. Ooh, excuse me. Not only recognizing his microphone skills, Roberts was given his own talk show called The Snake Pit. I remember they tried to do a feud with him and Hogan around the late 80s, and the fans weren't feeling my boy being heel. You know what I'm saying? So they had canceled their feud. You know what I'm saying? So he called it The Snake Pit. Which debuted in the Wrestling Challenge in late 1986. The Snake Pit was patterned after the Piper Pit, of course, where Roberts would conduct interviews with wrestlers, managers, help push wrestlers to get feuds over with the crowd. The segment was eventually moved to WWF Superstars of Wrestling to replace Piper Pit after Roddy Piper retirement after WrestleMania 3, until the final segment aired in July 1987. But in late 1986, Roberts began to enjoy an upsurge fan popularity despite WWF's attempts to cast him as an unpopular villain. In 1986, Roberts challenged Randy Savage for the Intercontinental Championship. Before the match, announcer Vince McMahon said that the fans would probably support Savage against the dislike Roberts. However, the surprise of both McMahon and fellow broadcaster Jesse Bonaventura, the fans cheered loudly for Roberts throughout the bout. The match ended in a double disqualification. You know what I'm saying? Around the same time, the WWF had also tried to set up Roberts as a nemesis to then fan favorite heavyweight champion Hulk Hogan and challenging him for the title. But however, after Roberts hit Hogan with a DDT during the episode of the Snake Pit, the fans responded positively to attack by chanting DDT rather than for Hogan. Damn. McMahon abandoned his plans for the feud between them. Years later, 2015, shoot interview, Roberts jokingly thanked the fans for ruining what had been the biggest and most probable run of his career at the time. Hogan was the biggest and most popular babyface, and a run against Hogan would have meant main event television and pay-per-view matches. But he officially turned face when he feuded with Honky Tonk Man and Elvis. This one, Honky Tonk Man hit my boy in the head, and he thought my boy had did it on purpose. You know what I'm saying? So he had turned face against Honky Tonk Man, a wannabe Elvis, who attacked Roberts with a guitar during his interview segment on the Snake Pit. The Honky Tonk guitar shot actually injured Roberts' neck. At the time, guitars were not prepared to break easily. Honky Tonk denied that he did personally. He denied that he tried to injure Roberts on purpose. Although Honky manager Jimmy Hart, as well of the video incident seen on the Pick Your Poison DVD, suggests otherwise. Roberts later claimed that he was picking the pieces of wood out of his back for weeks after. The attack led to a match at WrestleMania 3 in which Roberts had Detroit native Alex Cooper, a known lover of snakes, in his corner. After Honky Tonk Man won Intercontinental Championship from Ricky Steamboat, Roberts unsuccessfully challenged him for the championship several times throughout 1987. The initial plan was for Roberts to win the Intercontinental Championship after the Honky Tonk Man win over Steamboat and began in anger with $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. But because of the injuries from the guitar shot, the decision was made to keep the belt with Honky Tonk Man. Well, Honky Tonk Man did have one of the longest title reigns of all time, so they probably want a bad decision, you feel me? Then, of course, he had another great feud. He then had a feud with Ravishing Rick Rude and his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, who began a gimmick of selecting women from the crowd to kiss after each match. On April 23rd, 1988 edition of WWF Superstars Wrestling, Rude chose Roberts' real life shirt. So I think this was the time where Jake Roberts and his wife was having real life problems. I remember he said in the shoot interview, because the guys was doing the guy thing, cheating, macking, and dealing with the ring rats, as they call it. You got hip hop, they call it groupies, and then wrestling, you got ring rats. So guys was getting they pimping, you know what I'm saying? And he had his wife on the road watching this, you know what I'm saying? Like, so this how you do too? And plus his wife was then friends with the girls too, you know what I'm saying? But back to this. So Rick Rude to bring the girls to get a crowd of kiss after each match. So on October 23rd, 1988 edition of WWE Superstar Wrestling, Rude, he chose Jake Roberts' wife, who refused to kiss and revealed she was in fact the wife of Jake the Snake. After Rude began insulting Roberts, Cheryl slapped him, angering Rude before Roberts ran out for the save. This began a heated feud throughout the summer of 1988, which escalated after Rude began wearing a pair of tights and borderlines a vision of Miss Roberts, which was irate Roberts off. Then, of course, Roberts moved from the feud with Rude into a terrible feud with Andre the Giant, who was also managed by Bobby Heenan. So on March 11, 1989, on episode 39 main event, Andre got involved in a match between Rick Rude and Brutus Beefcake, sided with fellow heated family member Rude. Roberts came out to help. Y'all be patient because my nose stopped up. Good. He came to the ring to help Beefcake, who eventually won by disqualification. Roberts used his snake Damien. He used his snake Damien to scare Andre to an eventual heart attack. Although subsequent feud on house shows circuit saw Andre victorious after most of the matches, Robert claimed a victory via disqualification over Andre after the Giant attacked special guest referee Big John Studd at WrestleMania 5. But during the first of the feud in Los Angeles, Andre treated it like Jake was a job out there for old-fashioned squash matches, giving Jake virtually no offense and not selling anything Jake did to him. After the match, an angry Roberts physically confronted Andre in the locker room and told him he had to give Jake something out there or the program just wouldn't roll. The Giants simply answered, "We okay, boss. We good now." And they went on from there. Jake later learned he had been tested from Andre to see if he went running to complain to management or he had the guts to confront him man to man. He earned your respect. From then on, Andre had no problem selling the Jake offense in the ring. Shortly after his feud with Andre had ended, Roberts entered a feud with Ted DiBiase instead of fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. The prize of the feud was DiBiase owning the $1 Million Championship. It was at this time Roberts' problem with the discs in his back were publicly acknowledged, and DiBiase attacked Roberts after a victory over his bodyguard Virgil on WWE Superstars. In the attack, Roberts, injured by DiBiase, needed time off to have surgery to repair the damage. Roberts returned the feud with DiBiase through the end of 1989 until 1990, including the point where Roberts stole the $1 Million belt. During him and Virgil to reach into the canvas sack where damage was retrieved. This accumulation of their feud took place at WrestleMania 6 in the Sky Dome in Toronto, where then a match, the $1 Million belt was on the line. DiBiase gained a count-out victory over Roberts, thus regaining his non-sanctioned title. After the match, Roberts mounted an offense against DiBiase and Virgil, and then began giving away DiBiase money, including some money to actress Mary Tyler Moore, who was seated at the ringside. course, following a brief feud with Bad News Brown in the summer of 1990. Jake Roberts also feuded with Rick Martel throughout 1990 to 1991. After Martel blinded Roberts by spraying cologne, this one had their dumbass blindfold match. Trash. He blinded Roberts by spraying cologne, arrogance into his eyes. Roberts went so far to wear white contact lenses to prove his blindness. After several months, the feud culminated in a match at WrestleMania 7. In which both contestants was blindfolded. Though both Roberts and Martel did later confess having some limited vision due to the mesh holding in the mask, they were briefly visible due to Jake putting his hand inside the mask, donning it shortly before the start of the match. The bout ended after Roberts was able to locate Martel and deliver a DDT. And of course, he had his final feuds from 91-92. In early mid-1991, Roberts engaged in a feud with Earthquake, who squashed Daniel with a pair of Earthquake slashes during that match on April 27th, which was taped March 26th on the edition episode of WWF Superstars Ration. In reality, Roberts' bag contained a hamburger meat instead to look like a snake and a small mechanical device to decept movement. Roberts said in several shoot interviews that he wanted to be tied up in the ring ropes while Earthquake squashed Daniel because the original plan was for Roberts to be knocked out of a ring and not let him see it. The feud advanced with several weeks later. Earthquake appeared on primetime wrestling served Quake burgers to host Lord Alfred Hayes and Vince McMahon. Later claiming that the meat from the was grounded from Damien's carcass, which promoted McMahon angrily to knock the burger tray out of Earthquake hands. Roberts later introduced a new snake, Damien's big brother, Lucifer. The feud throughout most of late spring into summer. Roberts defeated Earthquake on July 1st in Madison Square Garden with a DDT. The match featured Andre the Giant in his corner. Then he became heel out of nowhere. That was crazy. Then he became ill. In the summer of 1991, there were televised videos of the Ultimate Warrior turning to Roberts for help with The Undertaker in the setup. Roberts explained to Warrior that after passing 3 tests, he would have the knowledge to the dark side to defeat the dead man. The segment would include Warrior being locked inside a coffin, a reenactment of the Fury Parlor, hosted by Undertaker manager Paul Bearer earlier that year. Then Warrior will begin to be buried alive in dirt before being abandoned. And the Warrior will walk through a room full of live snakes and reach a chest containing the answer. But during later that segment, the Warrior opened the chest only to be immediately beaten by King Cobra. A weakened Warrior felt the effects of the Cobra. Then, of course, like what Robert said at the end of the segment, you trust me? You trust me? Never trust a snake. And it went to black. You know what I'm saying? I remember that, you hear me? You know, plus I did episodes on Warrior, you hear me? So, like I said, Warrior walked through the room live full of snake chests containing the answer. Then opened the chest, the King Cobra made Warrior weaken. Then, of course, Robert was joined by The Undertaker and Paul Bearer, revealing that the three was in on the job all alone. Yes, he heard. Robert closed the final segment proclaiming, "I'm a snake. Never trust a snake." As a series of matches was planned, but the feud was canceled after Ultimate Warrior was fired by WWE. So, at this time, this one, Warrior and Roberts had real beef. You know what I'm saying? Because Warrior was feeling himself, and you know what I'm saying, and he was an asshole at the time. And you know, Warrior was the top guy. You know, he was the top face. It was Hogan and Warrior. So Warrior ego, which rightfully so, now that I think about it, Warrior felt like he should have been making the same amount of money as Hogan, not more, even more or the same amount. But Vince was so in love with Hogan, you know. think they said Warrior put a gun out on Vince. I don't remember, you hear me? But after SummerSlam, Warrior was placed in a feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, who had got retired by Warrior that year. During the post SummerSlam wedding reception of Savage and Miss Elizabeth, in reality, they had been married since 1984. But I think they was divorced by then, though. I'm not sure, you hear me? Elizabeth opened a gift package containing a live cobra. Roberts and The Undertaker attacked Savage until Sid Justice ran them off. A short feud with Sid ensured when Sid was scheduled to wrestle FW, and The Undertaker came out and accepted the challenge to face Sid. Bear offered the Masked Man, which would appear to be a bribe, to walk away. As the match began, the Masked Man came back to the ring and hit Sid and unmasked himself as the Snake Man himself. Roberts then proceeded to unleash a King Cobra on Sid until Hacksaw Jim Duggan intervened. Sid and Jake wrestled on Superstars a week later, but soon Sid injured his biceps, which forced the feud to end. Then, of course, Roberts immediately began berating Randy Savage in a series of promos, aware that Savage, who had lost a retirement match to Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7, was unable to exact revenge. But on November 23rd, taped October 21st on edition of WWF Superstars, Roberts goaded Savage into the ring to brutally attack him, eventually tying Savage into the ropes and got the King Cobra to bite his arm. The snake was devenomized, and according to Roberts on his DVD to Pick Your Poison, he had trouble getting the Cobra to release his bite. According to Roberts, on the day the angle was shot, he had let the Cobra bite him on the leg. But Randy Savage requested. You know what I'm saying? Savage would regularly check on Roberts to make sure he had no side effects from the bite. The segment went on longer than planned. Savage blood was clearly visible as it dripped from the puncture wound. Savage stated in shoot interviews that his arm swelled and developed a high fever afterwards and had to be checked to the hospital. He also stated that the Cobra died a week later after the angle. He joked that the Cobra must have got that venom from him. I'm true. Randy stupid. I can't wait to do that episode. We on our way to 1,000 subscribers, man. Life of a Savage. I can't wait to do this shit. It's gonna be crazy, bro. I'm telling y'all. But President Jack Tunney reinstated Savage as an active wrestler to get a revenge for the attack. To explain the absence of the Cobra, Tunney banned Roberts for ever bringing the snake to the ring again. You know what I'm saying? Savage and Roberts feud over the next few months. Their first match was at this Tuesday in Texas, pay-per-view on December 3rd in San Antonio, Texas, which saw Randy Savage get a victory over Roberts. But despite this, the Snake Man will perform the DDT 3 times on the Savage Man. And then he slapped Miss Elizabeth. Slap! Sit your ass down. And Jake Roberts said he didn't want to do that. I don't blame him though. Who want to slap a woman for? I don't. Ain't that serious, bro. You got dudes out here crazy, killing girls right now for. Like, I don't get it, fool. Trust me, I went through a breakup this year, but my nigga, I ain't gonna put my hands on that woman, you know what I'm saying? Because I got too much respect and love for her, you know what I'm saying? I want to make her happy. I want the man for the job. All right, cool. I ain't gonna put my hands on her, man. It's crazy. So I can see why that man didn't want to put his hands on no woman, you feel me? But the feud continued in the early part of 1992, including Savage eliminating Roberts from their year's Royal Rumble for the vacant WWF Championship. But the feud ended on Saturday night's main event, with Savage getting the win. Roberts was livid, having to lose to him, having to receive 2 of Savage flying elbows, one on which was after the match. It was held backstage. Enraged, he grabbed a steel chair and said that he was going to hit whoever come through the backstage first, whether it was Savage or Miss Elizabeth. Just as Roberts was about to swing, his homeboy made the save, The Undertaker. Roberts couldn't believe it. Roberts was distracted long enough for Savage to hit him with a chair. Instead, The incident helped set up Roberts' feud with a brother in darkness, The Undertaker. Roberts stated in the shoot interview that Jim Ross that the feud with Savage had to end early because Miss Elizabeth's parents were upset with Savage for not protecting Elizabeth when Roberts slapped her. Damn, I didn't know that. That's crazy. Roberts appeared on the funeral parlor demanding answers from The Undertaker why he stopped him from attacking Elizabeth. When Roberts was dissatisfied with the answers, he hit Paul Bearer with the DDT after jamming The Undertaker's hand in the coffin and began him with a steel chair. But however, Undertaker got up after each chair shot, eventually chased Roberts backstage, dragging the coffin. Then, of course, at WrestleMania 8, Jake Roberts lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 8 match turned out to be Jake Snake's last appearance on WWF for nearly 4 years. His departure came after he was upset that WWF Chairman Vince McMahon did not offer him a position for the writing staff, despite being promised such previously. After Pat Patterson stepped down from his post on the writing staff, stemming from the recent sexual harassment scandal. McMahon decided, out of respect of Patterson, that this spot would be left vacant. But Roberts felt he was not only being lied to, but also betrayed. And he threatened to no-show WrestleMania if he was not given a release. He got his release and went to WCW. You know what I'm saying? Roberts went to work for WCW alongside his father, Grizzly Smith, who aligned himself with the Barbarian and Cactus Jack to feud against Sting and Nikolai Klofov. However, before he officially joined WCW, he had to wait 90 days according to his Pick Your Poison DVD. Roberts had initially signed a lucrative contract under Kip Allen Fury, who was running WCW at the time. But on the 87th day, Fury stepped down and was replaced by Bill Watts, who Roberts had legit heat with back in his days in Mid-South Wrestling. Ultimately, Roberts estimated that he went from making about $3.5 million, equivalent to the $7.84 million in 2024, to now a year to approximately $200,000. Damn. Whew. That's crazy work, gang. Man, he will be making $1 million. Bill Watts player hate. But Roberts made his televised debut on August 2nd, 1992 at Main Event taping in Baltimore, Maryland, after coming through the crowd and attacked Sting. His first WCW match came 6 days later when he defeated Buff Bagwell on a house show in Chicago. He was quickly allied with Cactus Jack and the Barbarian. His first major TV appearance for WCW was Clash of the Champions, where his team won a four-man elimination tag match. Roberts scored a pinfall over Sting, which built their feud further. His single WCW pay-per-view match was against Sting at Halloween Havoc. The match was determined in the Veer spin the wheel, make the deal gimmick, where when the wheel stopped, he had landed on what many believe was the worst option, a coal miner glove match. Wait, what? What is that? Trash. You know what I'm saying? He left WCW after Halloween. Following the loss to Sting, he continued his feud, facing him on several house shows immediately after the event. But on November 2nd, episode Saturday Night Event, Tony Schiavone conducted a sit-down interview with Roberts regarding the decision of Bill Watts to ban his bringing the Snake to ringside in his impending first-round match against Dustin Rhodes in the first round of King of Cable. He was replaced by the Barbarian. Damn. But Bill Watts, you're a player hater. You know what I'm saying? For real, for real. But after leaving WCW, his next couple appearances around the world, in February '93, he took a part in Australia. He won the American Wrestling Federation title, defeating Don Morocco on March 4th. Then in 1993, he toured in Europe, partially Austria and Germany. In September 1993, he took part of Wrestling, a tour of New Japan Wrestling. Roberts debuted in Mexican promotion AAA in 1993, causing to defeat of Conan in a career versus career at Triple Mania 1. Roberts' run-in started a feud that lasted until 1994 at AAA Triple Mania 3, in which Conan defeated Roberts in a hair versus hair match, which Roberts got his long hair cut off and shaved bald. Then, of course, in 1994, Roberts returned to USA to wrestle for Smoky Mountain Wrestling on May 2nd, where he defeated Tony Anthony to become his Smoky Mountain Warrior Weight champion. The try to change on Earth, but Roberts no-showed several title defenses and was forcing SMW to give the title back to Anthony on July 5th. So he took a hiatus from wrestling. Then, of course, his short-lived return to WWE. After spending over a year hiatus, Robert returned to WWF Royal Rumble in 1996 as a Bible preacher to go along with his new gimmick. His new, I know snake called Revelations. His gimmick mirrored his real life, as Roberts had recently become a born-again Christian and had been preaching around the corner. During his second tenure with the company, Roberts pushed a Cinderella story and faced Stone Cold in the final match of the 1996 King of the Ring tournament. Changes had been made to the match, scripted as legitimate interest sustained early evening in the match, with Vader left Roberts unable to engage in longer, more eventful matches. Bout originally attended between both the men. To prevent Roberts from sustaining any further injuries, he was quickly defeated by Stone Cold in a post-match interview where Austin marked his Bible passage, John 3:16, saying we already know we know. You sit there, thump your Bible, say your prayers, and that didn't get you anywhere. You talk about Psalms, you talk about Austin 3:16, said I just, It's not that I didn't want to say it, but we done heard it so many times, you feel like saying it, you feel me? But here it is. So the catchphrase helped prepare Austin to the top star, because this one, they didn't believe in Austin. And this was supposed to be Triple H's big run, but I know Curtin called, and Stone Cold took control of his destination. It took off. You know what I'm saying? And he started feuding with Jerry the King and Lawler, who went great lengths to ridicule Jake the Snake alcohol problems. But in early 1997, the WWF wanted Roberts to wind down his in-ring career and join the company backstage side. Since he loved to wrestle, he did not make the transition well. This led to a relapse with drugs and alcohol. You know what I'm saying? He appeared at the 1997 Royal Rumble rating at number 7 and was eliminated by Stone Cold. This was his last match. His last match at WWF was a Shotgun Saturday Night Main Event against, I forgot the name, in a winning effort. He was released in March 1997 for not only being deemed too out of shape for WrestleMania, but also being frustrated by the behavior of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart backstage, and was a part of the creative team that had the mediate the real life backstage bickering. Then of course his last run, we ain't gonna do all this independent stuff over here. We ain't doing it, no. Or we ain't doing this manager stuff. But he was in ECW for a minute. During the summer of 1997, Roberts debuted in ECW. His introduction came towards the end of a match between Lawler and Tommy Dreamer, which was the main event of the show. As it went on, the arena lights went off. Moments later, it came back on. It was the Snake Man. He was already in the ring, and he proceeded to give Tommy Dreamer a clothesline. He then went on to the cameraman and screamed, "Yo, God, he give it, he can't take away. My God, he give it, but he ain't got the balls to do nothing else." Wow. Whew. All right, cool. You feel me? Hey, one love, dog. He promoted clothesline Lawler, who fell onto Tommy Dreamer for a 2 count before exiting the ring. He teamed up with Dream at the 1998 November to Remember as a major part of defeating Justin Credible and Jack Victory. So, with that being said, man, hey, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I just want to give y'all a quick bite. You know how I feel, fellas. You see my boy had drug drinking problems, whatever. Hey, man, hey, fellas, if you need help, go see some counseling, talk to God, talk to somebody. Trust me. You know, you ain't in this fight alone, because sometimes, you know, you can save yourself from toxic behavior, or you can save yourself from a lot of time, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'm out, nigga.
Nathan Beats.